That guy on bass here, but you can call me Chris, and today we are checking out the brand new Entropia update for the Darkglass Anagram. For those of you who don't know, as of today, Darkglass have updated the already stellar Anagram unit to include the brand new Entropia block. The Entropia is a parallel processing multiband distortion that grants you control over 3 fully independent bands, meaning you can sculpt your tone exactly how you imagine it. The Entropia can take you from subtle style vintage overdrives all the way through to modern, crushing, hyper aggressive bass tones, all in one single block inside the Anagram. Absolutely bananas. And today we're going to be checking it out. Okay, so this is what we're working with today. I've got my 1989 Japanese P bass. This is strung with some String Joy nickel wound strings that have seen a couple of gigs, so they're still nice and bitey, but we've lost a little bit of the top end, which suits me just fine. Then here we have the Darkglass Anagram. This is going straight into Logic with no other editing or processing, so for today, you are hearing just the Anagram straight into your lovely, lovely ears. To start off with, it's only fair, let's have a listen to the DI tone. Really nice round wound P bass DI tone. Yeah, no complaints really. Because the Entropia is a distortion unit, I personally prefer to see it going into some sort of amp and cab sim. So for this example today, we're going to be doing just that. So here we have got the Leo bass and the vintage Peggy 8x10. Let's listen to those bypassed and engaged. And then this is the amp and the cab. Lovely, lovely stuff. All right, starting off, let's load up the Entropia. So to get there, you click Add a New Block. We go to Overdrive and Distortion, and you'll see here the brand new Entropia unit. So that's engaged now. No settings have been changed or adjusted. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like. Oh, that is pretty crunchy. So like I said, this is just the default. So let's click on that and go into the unit itself. So as you can see here, we've got a low comp, a low level, a mid drive, a mid level, a high drive, and a high level. Clicking into these individual sections, we can see the low band, the mid band, and the high band. What I think is really cool here is you can move through the different types of compression, attack and release, comp, level, ratio, low pass frequency, but you can also solo this to listen to it in isolation. So again, this is this main tone. Quite saucy, I'd say, but then soloing it, this is just the low end. Nice, clean, compressed low end tone. Not really anything to comment there. Sounds pretty nice. Same with the mid drive. Let's solo this. Almost. On this default preset, there's literally nothing there. So let's listen to the high end. Yeah, as you can see, there is literally no low end in that. Nice and sizzly indeed. Right, let's go back to the actual main sound. So this is the main sound. And one thing that I think is really cool, we'll look at this in just a second in a little bit more detail, but on the mid and the high drives, what you can do is you can cycle through these different styles of drive. So this one is defaulting to the vintage microtubes, but then as you move up, we've got the B3K, the vintage microtubes, the Alpha, the Omega, the Chinchilla, the B3K Turbo, the VMT Turbo, the Alpha Turbo, the Omega Turbo, or Omega, depending on your outlook on life. But let's go out of this now. Like I said, listening to this as it is. Sounds pretty cool, but one thing that I think is really cool with this new update with the Entropia, we have got the option to go into templates. Now, the templates are some pre-made presets that we can cycle through and later customize to give us a different starting point within the unit. I really like this personally. Lots of knobs and lots of options inside either something digital like the Anagram or a preset or complicated based analog pedal or amp. Kind of gets me bogged down in the finer details. I get like option paralysis and I can get a bit intimidated. So I tend to either pick a preset and just go with that, and that suits me just fine, or I will take a preset as a starting block and tweak it a little bit from there. But let's move on and look at a few of these now. So as discussed, we are starting on the default preset, which is the glass drive. Let's have a look at this hard rock bite. A lot more low end, nice and thumpy. A bit boomy for my liking, but let's move on anyway. Tubey tone. Oh, right, this is much more muffled. This is kind of that vintage style, low gain breakup, warm and woolly. Not going to be something you'd use every day, but it's a pretty nice sound. Nasty attack. Oh, okay, yeah, this is a lot more bitey. Panic, let's have a look at Panic. This might be my favorite so far. This is really, there was a muse that inspired this. Is this going to be like... Oh, yeah. Just for a laugh, just really quickly, let's look at this Panic one. Let's put an octave in front of it. So we go to modulation and pitch. I like the Sublime. Is that the one that I have said is a preset? Pretty cool. Let's bring a bit more octave back into that. Try slapping this. I'm not the greatest slapper in the world, but that was pretty cool. Wow, there are loads here. Let's have a look at Vintage Growl. Oh, Vintage Growl is nice. Vintage Growl is my favorite so far, but let's keep going. Ultimate Fuzz. That's really nice. Really enjoy that. Modern Metal. Yeah, enough said there. Rocky Road. Rocky Road sounds really cool. That is a kind of timeless hard rock kind of tone. I can see that working quite well. Yeah, let's go into something that we've been enjoying so far. I think I like this Rocky Road one, personally my favorite. So if we click into this, we should see what the individual components are. So the drive type, again, is the VMT. Let's listen to that soloed. Yeah, very cool. And then we've got the high end, which is the chinchilla. That's the rat inside the anagram. Yeah, and that's just affecting frequencies above 8K. So altogether, we've got this nice... That is a really usable and cool rock tone. Let's just solo these out of the way and see what we've got as a default. So again, this is our DI, and then this is the Entropia. I'm gonna be honest, just as a DI, that sounds pretty good to me. Just out of curiosity, I'm just going to delete this and I'm going to add in the Noble DI, which is in here. Now, I like to boost this and leave these at 5, if I remember correctly. Check that's not peaking. Here's pretty loud. Let's turn that down a little bit. So yeah, this is now just like the DI tones. Yeah, that is really cool. This is a really nice and enjoyable unit. I think I'm going to save that for now. I think I'm going to use that tone at a gig I've got coming up in a couple of weeks. So thus concludes my brief run through of the brand new Entropia block for the Darkglass Anagram. I really like this unit. I think this is really usable and versatile. I've enjoyed the use of templates, which is kind of the new preset mode inside the individual block. There's a lot of control and a lot of power inside this block. Personally, I'm really surprised this is something that Darkglass have been able to put in a unit as small as the Anagram and give us so much control without taking up the entire signal chain inside the Anagram itself. It sounded really good with an amp into a cab, but actually, I hate to say it, I think it kind of came to life just putting something simple like the Noble DI at the end of it. I enjoy the cab sim sound most of the time when it comes to distorted tones overall, but I feel like this may have been tuned and designed to work well both with and without a cab. If you're already an owner of the Darkglass Anagram, all you need to do is update your unit and you'll find the Entropia inside. Alternatively, if you'd like to get your hands on an Anagram unit, simply head to darkglass.com and check it out. But don't forget to leave a like and drop a subscribe down below. I would really appreciate that. Similarly, I'd like to know your thoughts on the Entropia and the wider Darkglass Anagram ecosystem. I am intending on doing a long-form review of the Anagram really soon. I've been gigging it for a few months now, and personally, I absolutely love it. But as always, I want to hear your thoughts. I've been that guy on bass, you have been wonderful, and I will see you in the next video. Tatty bye.